She bit her lip, her pulse racing, but the warmth of his steady touch melted the last of her fear. "Good," Aira whispered, her tone approving. "See? You're not alone." Uno's gaze flicked between the two women, his chest aching with emotions too tangled to name. Gratitude. Desire. Fear. Hope. All swirling in the lantern's glow. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra asked softly, her voice trembling as she turned toward Aira. Aira smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. "Because I know how it feels to be unsure. And because I don't want you to feel unloved." Uno's chest tightened painfully. He pressed a gentle kiss to Lyra's temple, earning a shiver from her. "You're not unloved," he murmured. "Not anymore." Lyra's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she whispered, "Thank you." The husband outside nearly choked on his own fury. His teeth ground together so hard his jaw ached. Not anymore? He wanted to break through the door, to tear Uno away from them both, but some darker urge forced him still. He wanted them to believe they were safe, just long enough to savor tearing it all away. Inside, the air grew heavier. Uno leaned down, kissing Lyra again, slower, deeper this time. She responded without hesitation, her hands curling into his shirt. Aira watched, her hand stroking Lyra's hair soothingly. When their lips finally parted, Aira leaned close, her lips near Lyra's ear. "See how he looks at you? That's how you know you're wanted. Remember it. Hold on to it." Lyra trembled, nodding. She turned back to Uno, her voice soft but steadier now. "I want to try again." Uno's lips curved faintly, his voice low. "Then I'll never say no." And he kissed her once more, the blanket cocooning them in warmth as the lantern flickered. The husband's vision blurred with rage, his fists trembling at his sides. He had seen enough. Yet he couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The betrayal wasn't finished. He could feel it, there was worse yet to come. And when it did, he promised himself, they would all pay the price. She bit her lip, her pulse racing, but the warmth of his steady touch melted the last of her fear. "Good," Aira whispered, her tone approving. "See? You're not alone." Uno's gaze flicked between the two women, his chest aching with emotions too tangled to name. Gratitude. Desire. Fear. Hope. All swirling in the lantern's glow. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra asked softly, her voice trembling as she turned toward Aira. Aira smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. "Because I know how it feels to be unsure. And because I don't want you to feel unloved." Uno's chest tightened painfully. He pressed a gentle kiss to Lyra's temple, earning a shiver from her. "You're not unloved," he murmured. "Not anymore." Lyra's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she whispered, "Thank you." The husband outside nearly choked on his own fury. His teeth ground together so hard his jaw ached. Not anymore? He wanted to break through the door, to tear Uno away from them both, but some darker urge forced him still. He wanted them to believe they were safe, just long enough to savor tearing it all away. Inside, the air grew heavier. Uno leaned down, kissing Lyra again, slower, deeper this time. She responded without hesitation, her hands curling into his shirt. Aira watched, her hand stroking Lyra's hair soothingly. When their lips finally parted, Aira leaned close, her lips near Lyra's ear. "See how he looks at you? That's how you know you're wanted. Remember it. Hold on to it." Lyra trembled, nodding. She turned back to Uno, her voice soft but steadier now. "I want to try again." Uno's lips curved faintly, his voice low. "Then I'll never say no." And he kissed her once more, the blanket cocooning them in warmth as the lantern flickered. The husband's vision blurred with rage, his fists trembling at his sides. He had seen enough. Yet he couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The betrayal wasn't finished. He could feel it, there was worse yet to come. And when it did, he promised himself they would all pay the price. The lantern flame flickered, stretching shadows across the wooden walls. The blanket cocooned the three of them, sealing them away from the rest of the world. Uno's pulse hammered in his throat as he turned toward Lyra, the warmth of her shoulder brushing his. She was trembling, not from the chill, but from something else entirely. Her eyes lifted slowly to meet his, wide and uncertain, her lips parted as if words had failed her. Aira, Uno murmured, almost as though asking permission. Aira, lying close against his other side, met his gaze. She gave the faintest nod, her voice soft and steady. Go on. She's waiting. Uno's breath shuddered as he leaned closer. Lyra's lashes fluttered, her chest rising sharply. When his lips finally brushed hers, it was feather-light, a hesitant meeting that sent a jolt through them both. Lyra gasped softly, her hand tightening on the blanket as if to anchor herself. He pulled back just an inch, searching her eyes. Are you all right? Her lips trembled. I don't know, she whispered. But I don't want you to stop. Aira's hand came gently to Lyra's back, stroking in soothing circles. Breathe, she whispered to her sister-in-law, her voice tender. Let it happen slowly. Trust him. Encouraged, Uno leaned in again, pressing his lips more firmly to Lyra's this time. She responded hesitantly at first, then with growing boldness as her hand lifted to his chest. The warmth of his heartbeat beneath her palm made her breath falter, but she didn't pull away. Aira watched with a faint smile, her own cheeks flushed. She leaned close to Lyra's ear, her voice a whisper. See? It's not frightening. Just follow your heart. Let yourself feel. Lyra whimpered softly, her eyes closing as she returned Uno's kiss more surely. Her fingers curled into his shirt, her body relaxing little by little beneath the blanket's warmth. Uno's chest ached with the gentleness of it, with the trust she was placing in him. He moved slowly, deliberately, as though every kiss were a vow not to rush her. The husband's breath caught outside the door, his eyes narrowing at the sight through the crack. His knuckles whitened where he gripped the frame, veins straining under his skin. Lyra too? The thought burned through him like acid. The betrayal doubled, twisting the knife deeper. Inside, Lyra finally broke the kiss, breathless, her forehead resting against Uno's shoulder. Her body shook, not with fear, but with the overwhelming flood of emotions she couldn't name. Aira stroked her hair gently. That's it, she murmured. You see? It doesn't have to be frightening. Just let yourself be close. Lyra whispered, her voice small, but, what if I do something wrong? You can't, Aira assured her softly. She glanced at Uno, her eyes warm. He'll guide you. Won't you, Uno? Uno's throat tightened, his hand gently cupping Lyra's trembling fingers. Always, he said hoarsely. I'd never let you feel lost. The room felt impossibly warm beneath the blanket. The lantern's glow painted everything in soft gold, shadows swaying gently across the walls. Outside, the night was quiet, but inside, three breaths mingled in the hush, each one trembling with emotions they couldn't contain. Uno brushed a damp strand of hair from Lyra's cheek, his fingers lingering a moment too long. She closed her eyes at the touch, leaning slightly into his hand. You're shaking, he whispered, his breath warm against her skin. I'm not afraid, she whispered back. I've never felt this before. Aira's hand found hers, squeezing gently. It's all right, she soothed. I was the same once. Trust him, Lyra. Trust yourself. Lyra's lashes fluttered open, her gaze shifting between them. She swallowed hard, then whispered, then show me how. Please. Aira nodded softly, her cheeks flushed. Start simple. Look into his eyes. Don't look away. Let him see you. Lyra turned toward Uno, her breath catching as their gazes locked. His eyes were steady, warm, filled with something that made her pulse quicken. Good, Aira murmured. Now, touch his face, gently. Let him know you want to be close. Her hand trembled as she lifted it, brushing against Uno's cheek. His skin was warm beneath her fingertips, rougher than she expected, but grounding. He leaned slightly into the touch, his lips curving faintly. "You're doing perfectly," he murmured. Encouraged, Lyra inched closer, her lips parting. Uno closed the distance slowly, their kiss lingering longer this time. The world seemed to fade beyond the blanket, the lantern's glow shrinking until there was only the warmth of their closeness. Aira watched, her expression soft but unreadable, a mixture of pride, tenderness, and something deeper. She leaned close, whispering near Lyra's ear as their kiss broke. "See? You didn't need to be afraid. He'll meet you where you are." Lyra bit her lip, her eyes shining. "I want more. But I don't know how." Uno's chest tightened at her honesty. He cupped her cheek, brushing his thumb across her skin. "Then we'll take it one step at a time." From the hallway, the husband's nails dug into the doorframe. His breath rasped, his vision tunneling as he watched his wife whisper encouragement while his lover kissed another man. Fury burned through his veins, but still he stayed silent, every second fueling the storm inside him. Inside, Aira gently guided Lyra's hand to Uno's chest. "Feel his heartbeat," she whispered. "It's racing because of you. That's how you'll always know." Lyra's palm pressed against the thrum of Uno's chest. She gasped softly, her eyes widening. "It's so fast." Uno caught her hand, holding it there. "Because you're here." Her breath shuddered, tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. "I never thought I could make anyone feel this." "You already have," Uno whispered. Aira stroked her hair, her own voice thick with emotion. "You see? You're not invisible. Not to him. Not to me." For a moment, the three simply sat in silence, the weight of their closeness pressing heavier than any words. Then Lyra's lips curved faintly, her voice trembling but braver now. "Then, don't let me go." Uno's heart nearly broke at the plea. "Never," he murmured, pulling her gently against him. Their lips met again, deeper, slower, carrying the promise neither dared speak aloud. Aira leaned against Uno's other side, her hand resting over both theirs, the blanket cocooning them in a fragile, forbidden warmth. The husband's vision blurred with rage as he turned away, his chest heaving. He couldn't watch any more, not tonight. But he would not remain silent. Not forever. In the flickering lantern light, as the three drew closer, the seeds of betrayal and revenge were already sown. And none of them knew just how soon the storm inside the house would erupt. The lantern's glow painted the room in golden warmth, shadows stretching long across the walls. Beneath the blanket, the three lay close, breaths mingling, hearts racing in the quiet of the night. Uno brushed a lock of hair from Lyra's flushed cheek, his touch feather-light. She closed her eyes, leaning into his palm as though she had been waiting for that touch her whole life. "You're trembling again," he whispered. "I'm not scared," she breathed, her voice soft. I don't want this to end." Aira's hand slid gently into Lyra's, squeezing. "It doesn't have to," she said, her voice low and steady. "Not tonight." Lyra's lashes fluttered, her lips parting. She looked between them, hesitant, then whispered, "But why are you letting this happen, Aira?" She broke off, unable to finish. Aira's smile was faint, bittersweet. "Because I know what it feels like to ache for something you can't name. Because I'm tired of being alone even while I'm married." Her gaze softened, turning toward Uno. "And because I trust him not to break us." The confession made Uno's chest tighten. He kissed Lyra gently, slowly, as though sealing Aira's words into her heart. She whimpered softly, clutching his shirt, her lips growing surer against his. Aira stroked her sister-in-law's hair, whispering, "That's it. Don't be afraid to give. He won't let you fall." From the hallway, the husband's jaw clenched, fury twisting every muscle. "Alone?" The word echoed like poison. He gripped the doorframe until the wood groaned, but he didn't enter. "Not yet." He turned abruptly, his boots silent on the floorboards as he left the doorway, his breath ragged. If Aira wanted secrets, then so be it. He had his own. And tonight, he would remind himself why betrayal was never a one-sided game. Back in the room, Uno kissed Lyra again, longer this time. She melted against him, her breath coming quicker, her hands tangled in his shirt. Her body shivered not from cold, but from the flood of warmth and closeness she'd never known. When the kiss broke, Aira brushed Lyra's cheek with tender fingers. "See how he looks at you," she murmured. "That's how you know you're cherished. Remember it." Lyra's lips trembled. I feel like I'm dreaming." Uno cupped her face, his voice hoarse. "Then don't wake up." They lay in silence, the only sound the rhythm of their breathing. Uno's arms wrapped protectively around both women, the blanket sealing them away from the world. Far across town, the husband strode through the rain-damp streets, rage burning hotter than the lanterns glowing in shuttered windows. His fists clenched at his sides as he headed for a familiar house, the house where his secret lover waited. When he reached it, he pushed open the unlocked door with a force that rattled the hinges. But the greeting he expected never came. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then, faintly, from beyond a half-closed door, came the sound of laughter. A woman's laughter. Familiar, sweet. His chest tightened with anticipation and fury. He stepped closer, and through the crack of the doorway, his eyes widened. In the soft glow of another lantern, he saw her, Lyra. Not alone. The scene before him froze his blood. Uno, his arms around both Aira and Lyra, the three huddled close, laughter melting into whispers, touches lingering too long. Their faces flushed, their breaths quick and uneven. His knees nearly buckled. The world tilted, the truth slamming into him like a hammer blow. Not one betrayal. Not two. 3. His wife. His lover. The stranger he despised. Together. The air roared in his ears as he staggered back from the door, his chest heaving. He wanted to storm in, to tear them apart with his bare hands. But instead, a colder, sharper thought cut through his fury. Not yet. They think they're safe. Let them believe it. The moment they feel happiest. I'll take it all away. Back in the lantern-lit room, the three shared a final moment of closeness. Aira whispered, her voice trembling but resolute, "No one must ever know. If we're careful, this will be ours alone." Lyra nodded, clutching Uno's hand tightly. "I'll keep it. I promise." Uno kissed them both softly, his voice steady. "Then it's sealed." None of them knew that in the shadows, the husband had already seen everything. And the promise of secrecy they whispered was already broken. The lantern's glow clung to the walls, its flame shivering as if it, too, could sense the weight of what was happening. The blanket wrapped the three of them close, trapping their warmth and their secrets in the same fragile cocoon. Uno's arm brushed Lyra's shoulder, and though it was the smallest of touches, it made her gasp softly, her breath catching as her body tensed. "You're still trembling," Uno murmured, his voice rough with restraint. I don't know why," Lyra whispered, lowering her eyes. "It feels overwhelming." Aira's hand gently covered hers, offering both comfort and courage. "Because you've never been allowed to feel this safe before," she said softly. "Don't fight it. Just let it come." Lyra hesitated, then finally lifted her gaze, her eyes meeting Uno's. In that moment, the trembling didn't feel like fear anymore. It felt like anticipation. Uno's lips curved faintly as he leaned closer, pausing just long enough for her to retreat if she wished. When she didn't, he brushed his lips against hers, slow and feather-light. The kiss lingered, warm and patient, carrying no demand, only promise. Lyra's breath hitched, her fingers clutching the blanket. She pulled back just an inch, her wide eyes searching his. "Why does it feel like I've waited for this forever?" Uno's chest tightened. "Maybe because you have," he whispered. Aira stroked Lyra's hair gently, her voice steady despite the heat in her own cheeks. Trust him, she urged softly. He won't hurt you. Not ever. Outside the half-closed door, the husband's jaw clenched so tightly his teeth ached. He pressed his ear closer, his pulse thundering as every whispered word cut deeper. Trust him? He thought bitterly. She trusts a stranger more than me. He wanted to storm in, to tear Uno away and drag Lyra back, but some darker instinct made him pause. Watching, listening, waiting was torture, but it promised something more. Proof. Inside, Lyra leaned closer, this time initiating the kiss herself. Her lips trembled at first, but Uno met her gently, guiding without force, answering her uncertainty with steady warmth. When they parted, her chest rose and fell quickly, her cheeks flushed. I didn't ruin it, did I? Uno smiled softly, brushing her cheek with his thumb. You could never ruin it. Aira leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. See? It's not about perfection. It's about being real. And you were. Lyra bit her lip, tears glimmering in her eyes. I've always felt like I wasn't enough. Uno's voice was hoarse as he cupped her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. You are more than enough. Aira pressed her forehead gently to Lyra's temple, her whisper steady. Believe him. Because I do. For a long while, the three of them stayed wrapped in the blanket, sharing warmth, shared breaths, and the kind of silence that spoke louder than words. But outside, the husband's rage only grew. His fingers dug into the doorframe, splinters cutting into his skin. His mind replayed every stolen moment he'd shared with Lyra, every time she'd whispered she belonged to him. And now, here she was, giving the same words, the same smiles, to another. His breath grew ragged. She'll regret this. They both will. Yet even in his fury, he didn't open the door. Not yet. Not tonight. He turned abruptly, striding down the hall, his boots silent despite the storm of rage in his chest. He knew where he needed to go. If Aira and Lyra thought they could betray him under his own roof, then he would remind himself why betrayal was never his alone to bear. Back in the lantern-lit room, Lyra shifted, resting her head against Uno's chest. His arm slid protectively around her, holding her close. Aira's hand rested lightly on them both, her eyes soft, though shadows of pain lingered in their depths. This moment, Aira whispered, we can never speak of it again. Not to anyone. Promise me. I promise, Lyra breathed, her fingers tightening around Uno's. Uno nodded, his voice steady but low. Then it's sealed. Aira closed her eyes, leaning into the warmth. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. But in the shadows of the night, her husband had already seen enough. And as he disappeared into the darkness, his heart carried only one vow. They thought they had stolen happiness. He would make sure it was the last happiness they ever knew.